being the agent of chaos that I am, yeah, because I want to see this fail somewhere else, to be completely honest with you, because I can't foresee that no matter where they decide to go, they're going to pair up with each other again, that this is going to work. Kevin Durant has made it very, very clear that he can be friends with Kyrie Irving, but he does not want to play basketball with him. But like I mentioned, I don't mind being an agent of chaos from that standpoint, because Kyrie Irving knows how much, he has to realize how much of a bad look this is. That the reason that Kevin Durant decided he did not want to be with you anymore was because he didn't want to ruin the friendship, because Courtney made that point earlier, that Kevin Durant chose the friendship between him and Kyrie Irving, and they were both willing to pull a Beastie Boys and sabotage the Brooklyn Nets from that standpoint. So if you're Kevin Durant, and like I said, I want to see it not work somewhere else. But if I'm Kevin Durant, there's no way I want to play with him anywhere else. Don't please Freddie Coleman. You got to please yourself if you're Kevin Durant.
Hell no, I don't want to see this happen. Did Kevin Durant not learn his lesson this past year of what happens when you put your faith and your trust in Kyrie Irving? I don't want to see Kevin Durant go through this again. And yes, I know we might not have the same sort of vaccine mandate that was applied to the 2021-2022 season that kept Kyrie Irving out of regular season home games. I don't think that's going to be an issue again this year. But who's to say there isn't going to be some other thing that attracts Kyrie Irving's attention, makes him want to take another 2-week vacation and not tell the organization where he's going, what he's doing? Who's to say that that doesn't happen again and hurt Kevin Durant again? I don't want to see Kevin Durant put in the same situation that he was last February, last March, where he gets injured because he's carrying the load for someone who doesn't want to show up to work. I don't want to see that happen, because Kevin Durant is going to be 34 years old. He has dealt with injuries throughout his career, most recently with the ruptured Achilles that he came back from in order to play with Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn. And we never got to see that come to fruition. I don't want to see these two team up somewhere else and Kevin Durant have to go through this again, where he is carrying the load for someone who is predictably unpredictable. To me, you could be friends with this guy. You can still hold him in very high regard, Freddie. But I think that you make a clean break here, because it's very clear. If you really wanted to play basketball with him, you could, because he just opted into his $36.5 million player option with the Brooklyn Nets. If Kevin Durant wanted to give this one more go, he could have done it with the Brooklyn Nets. Why would you take this toxicity that you're trying to get away from and go somewhere else and say, no, let's run it back and let's think it's going to be different? I don't know, if we go to the Los Angeles Lakers together. It makes no sense to me. Kevin Durant is too good for this drama that he has been dragged into and tried to rise above the entire time. Go somewhere else, start fresh, give yourself what you deserve. Love yourself, Kevin Durant. That's basically what he needs to do at the end of this, because being with Kyrie Irving, that's the anvil that's on Kevin Durant's ankle right now, holding him down.
Well, Kevin Durant had to do that then, because he could have done this the first time.
I know.
He could, but he chose not to, for whatever reason, Courtney.
He thought he was the one that was going to fix Kyrie Irving. And I know that might have been a little ignorant, knowing what happened in Cleveland, how he exited.
Not a little
there,
ignorant. That's like being a little pregnant. Either you are or you're not, from that standpoint. When it comes to being ignorant, that was completely ignorant of a guy that should have more intelligence than that, to look at Kyrie Irving and say, all right, based on the tea leaves, I can't change that guy. Especially, it's not in his nature to do that when it comes to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant wants to go along to get along. He wants to go with the flow of the situation. Sometimes when someone goes against that flow, you can't put yourself and be that anvil. I hear what you're saying in terms of you don't want Kyrie Irving to be the anvil to his ankle. Yeah, I was being facetious because, like I said, I just want to see this fail again, mainly because I saw how it spectacularly failed with the Brooklyn Nets. But if Kevin Durant is going to have whatever he wants, you can't allow yourself to be swayed by somebody just because you have loyalty to that friend. I have plenty of friends of mine that I would never go in business with.
Sure.
I would look at them, hey, Freddie, I got this. And you're not wasting my money because I know how you are.
That's true.
Kevin Durant had to have known how Kyrie Irving was. And if he decided to ignore that, then that's a Kevin Durant problem. That he made it a Brooklyn Nets problem by doing something like that.
Well, and I said this earlier on the show, does it not feel like Kevin Durant opting to request a trade after Kyrie Irving opted in is him sticking it to the Brooklyn Nets and siding with the guy that put him in this spot?
I don't disagree.
I can't make sense of that. That's the part that really frustrates me, and I'm never going to speak for another athlete. I'm not going to speak for Kevin Durant in the circumstance, but I don't understand it, because this person cost you your chance at an NBA title last year because of his decisions that were not contained in a vacuum. You play a team sport, and what his decision did not only affected Kyrie Irving, it affected the entire roster, it affected the entire franchise that hedged everything to make this happen. And I'm not absolving the Brooklyn Nets of their responsibility in all of this.
I get it.
They messed up the day that they decided to cede all of their power to their superstars. Like we talked about, 2019 when they gave DeAndre Jordan that $40 million extension to please Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, that was strike one. Firing Kenny Atkinson because he wanted to play Jared Allen over DeAndre Jordan because they didn't want to worry about any of the juju between head coach and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Strike two. Trading everything for James Harden, and now you're in the situation where you're going to have to rebuild your entire franchise because of the decisions that you made to give the power to these superstars. This is a masterclass in what not to do and how not to handle things. If you are an owner, if you are a general manager, I really can't wrap my head around the fact that Sean Marks, the general manager of the Brooklyn Nets, in one calendar year will have lost James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving. How does that make sense? How do you let it get that bad?
Because the NBA is a players' league, and he allowed the players to run the organization. And that's exactly why he has you so upset right now.
I'm fuming. I'm literally shaking right now, trying to wrap my head around that.
I don't try to wrap my head around things like this. You know why? Because organizations that are desperate will always do something like this. The Brooklyn Nets have never mattered in New York City since Dr. J and the Nets were in the ABA. They have never mattered. It is always going to be a Knicks town, Courtney and Christine, and that's the way it goes. So when you want to matter, if you know you're never, ever going to be that big dog on the porch, if you know you're always having the table scraps underneath the house and underneath the porch, what are you going to try to do? You're going to make the biggest noise by barking to hope people pay attention to you. That's what this was from the Brooklyn Nets. And when they had the opportunity, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, they want to come here. Man, we got to make sure the house is nice. We got to make sure the carpets are clean.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that everything is right for them. You know what happens when you do that? When you give the people that kind of stroke to say, you own this organization, you get what Kyrie Irving said, me, Kevin, and the ownership are going to go forward. At that standpoint, what did you think was going to happen? And that's why I come back to the premise that Kevin Durant should have seen this coming. Because he tried a same power play, Courtney and Christine, in Boston. And Jason Tatum at 6'9", and Jaylen Brown at 6'8", said, brother, take a good look at me. You're not going to talk to me that way. But the minute he got to Brooklyn and he put that out there, everybody took a step back, including Kevin Durant, because of his loyalty. You know what loyalty got these people? Like my friend Bruce Beck, who does sports for NBC4 in New York, said, it became a colossal failure. That's what happens when you, A, don't have structure, and B, don't have an alpha dog to say either you do it this way or you're going to have to pay the consequence. And that's what the Nets never did.
I'm going to leave it with this because I know we got to get to break. So, Kevin Durant did this one time. He learned the hard way. If you do this again and it fails, you have nobody to blame but yourself. So please, Kevin Durant, I'm begging you, don't make that mistake twice.
And I think to your point, too, about Sean Marks not being able to figure it out, that's probably why KD is like, I am leaving right now, because he
realizes
saw
it's chaos.
the writing on the wall. Exactly. It's